Hello, how are you? How are your kids doing? How are you really going in this new crisis? I don't know about you, but I have been feeling very heavy, very sad this last week or two. Like most of us in the world, I am horrified at what's happening at the moment. Kicked off in America with the death, the murder of George Floyd, and then all the violent clashes and just the level of outrage and anger and grief that's pouring out and quite frankly is completely justified as we are staring hundreds of years of injustice and racism and inequality that black humans and people of color have endured. And it just didn't really feel right to come on at the weekend, talk about what I was going to talk about. I quite didn't want to take up any bandwidth, to be honest with you. And as I've been sitting and watching and listening and learning and processing, I've come to the realization that in order for change to take place, we all have to get involved in this movement of ending racism and injustice, ending this story. I've had enough. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, I'm going to try not to say too much this week. I've been thinking a lot about this, but I thought we were further on, I think, and even that comes from a place of middle class white privilege, I realise. So anyway, I have shifted from a bit of kind of hopelessness maybe and grief and what can I possibly do to help in this huge systemic ingrained societal historical problem, into one of we, as in white privileged people, are all responsible and we can all do something, and it's going to take all of us doing something to change this story. So racism, prejudice, injustice is not okay, and nor is becoming aware of it. Not that we weren't aware of it before, but not doing anything about it. And right now, when it's in our faces, brought to our attention again, I know it's every day for lots of people, but if it's right here, right now, let's seize this opportunity and move forward. So, what can we do? What can we do? Well, as parents, there's a lot that we can do. We are responsible for the next generation. We're their caretakers in this world. So we have an opportunity to change the story. Thinking about what world do we want our children to grow up in? How do we want them to be treated by others? How do we want them to feel as they move around the world? We have to teach them to treat others and view others with the same lens that we want our children to be viewed through and treated. And let's create this world together. We can't undo the past. We can't change what's happened, but we can affect the future by what we do now. So making a resolve and doing something different in every moment is important, isn't it? As he died, or as he was being killed, George Floyd cried, "Mama." Don't know if you've seen those as well. Every mama around the world, didn't you hear in that the call of your children? We know of our sons and daughters pleading for us to do something. Sorry. So let's do something for our children. is this the world that we want them to live in, or is there a better one that we can envisage for them? One of more equality and of love, of compassion, of safety and of peace. So to create change, we need to do something different than we're currently doing, right? However much we may think that we are not contributing to racism in the world, as white, privileged people, we need to reassess. We need to educate ourselves, we need to listen, and we need to do something. And we need to raise our children to be anti-racist. So, developing empathy, compassion, and a sense of injustice at an early age helps our children to grow into adults that want to make the world a better place. I'm going to quote Ibram Kendi, who's the executive director of the Anti-Racist Research and Policy Center at Washington University. He says we should raise children who can express notions of racial equality, who can see racial disparities as a problem, and who can do their own small part to challenge this big problem of racism. Now, of course, our children learn predominantly from watching us. So this starts with looking at ourselves and what we are modeling, what our norms are, how inclusive our lives are. And it means examining the beliefs that our kids have already developed regarding race and really leaning in and paying close attention. And it means having conversations with our kids around race and racism. Racism is a learnt behavior. And as we know, to unlearn a behavior, we first have to be honest about what we're currently doing, about our current behavior, about the current situation, and create a space to talk about it. And most of all, be the example we want to see. So if we want to see change in the world, we've got to start doing something different now. So all this is very well, having intentions and saying things, but what are we actually going to do, especially if we're feeling a bit stuck about what actually to do and where actually to start and how to start examining ourselves deeper in order to change the story. And I have been researching this and having a look at what the experts have to say about raising an anti-racist child. So I'm going to drop lots of links under this video of websites to have a look at and practical tips. I'm sure there is something that we can all do, from having conversations around racism to actually practical things like looking through our libraries of toys and books and movies and consciously evening up the groups that are represented there, We're going to reboot the notion around what heroes and neighbours and friends and society looks like. Excuse me. What an inclusive society looks like. We're probably already aware that the majority of picture books centres around white characters, but did you know that black and brown human characters are even less represented than animals and cartoon characters? I didn't know that. So let's take what's currently going on in the world as an opportunity to jump into change and move forward. Let's seize this opportunity to create change. And let me know how you go. I'd love to hear what you're doing in your family, in your world, to help us humans, society, move forward, evolve, and upward and outward in these times. And we What are you doing? Let's have the conversations. I will be here on Sunday night. We can dive into this deeper. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you all around the world, actually. I love that we have an international group. I want to hear how it is on the ground from our American friends in particular. So jump on. I won't be looking really over the weekend. We've got a very busy weekend. But if you want the link, let me know. You know where I am. Sending lots of love and peace from here.